Hey, welcome back to Two Super Guys Trade Stocks. I'm Dylan.
And I'm Vinny, and today is one of those magical 4 days a year we get the Burry miss. We get to see what Michael Burry, one of the infamous traders of all time, is doing with his personal portfolio, particularly now that he deleted his X or Twitter account. We have to kind of figure out what he's doing based upon his 13F filings, so we're going to get to it.
Two Super Guys Trade Stocks.
Well, it looks like these two guys are in the trade again, along with us, and we're the more important two out of this entire quad group here. Okay, but yeah, Burry bought Baba again. That's not going to be the highlight of this whole thing, but it's just quick aside there. So the main kind of question was he had these massive positions based upon their notional value or of triple Q puts and SPY puts that he had in the summertime here, and he closed them out entirely. So I will give myself a pat on the back for that because I was right about that. That he does not indeed still hold them.
I thought
Yeah,
he would have sold 50%. Although after today, if he had them, he should definitely close them. The inflation data today was great.
yeah, that's true. We can do a separate video about that this weekend. So these are actually the positions he initiated. There's a really interesting one here with booking.com where he's got both a put and shares. I'm not sure if it's a married put situation, although the size seems so disparate, where he's got 2,500 shares, as far as the put contract, and then 1,500 that he bought. So I'm not really sure. That's a little bit above my pay grade as far as unusual options trade linked with actual ownership of the shares. He picked up some Stellantis group garbage. That's the parent company for Chrysler, Jeep, that Dodge, all that
Yeah,
stuff.
that's
Yeah,
kind of surprising. What does he know that we
yeah.
don't?
I don't know. Obviously, we've been watching him for a couple of years now, and it's definitely kind of convinced me that he's definitely more of a trader than he is like a long-term value
Yeah.
investor, kind of like a Warren Buffett style. He's in and out of things constantly, and unfortunately, we only get these filings every quarter, so it's hard to really know. Still the same kind of trend you see as far as the Starbuck carrier. He's been buying these larger kind of or international shipping companies for a while now. There's a couple different ones that he's bought and sold over the time, but the major kind of trade here that I want to highlight is it looks like he went back long China, buying both BABA and JD shares in the most recent quarter, total of like about $7 million, $8 million in shares, which for his portfolio size is still relatively small because he probably has 300 million or so in assets under management. Is kind of my best estimate because it doesn't really reflect it because of the whole options contracts. So
Yeah,
you have to kind of
it's
make a
kind of
guess.
upsetting that we never know how much cash he has. We just have his investments. I would really like to know cash.
Yeah, and it's U.S. equities only, unfortunately, too. So it's
Oh,
pretty
yeah,
limited
same.
kind of view. So, basically, I looked at the triple Q. This is a chart over the last year, looking at when we know he was holding the triple Q puts and when we know he had sold them by. So, is it possible he profited on this one? Yeah, maybe. It's in terms of the actual market level, it was down slightly, but don't forget you have theta decay eating away at those value of those put options during that entire time period. So maybe he made a little bit of money on this one, maybe not. It's hard to know. The SPY one, I think he probably did a little bit better on. So this is the same time frame SPY. Like I said, he held it by here and he sold it by here. So there's a good chance he probably made some money on this one, I would think. It's hard to know exactly, but it's a reasonable estimation.
I would say he probably did.
So here's the kind of the highlight of the new one that he had. He actually had a lot of puts on SOX, a semiconductor ETF. I looked at it from the point of like the end of the quarter where we knew he was holding it is this green arrow here. If you actually look at it, what it is to the close today, because don't today was obviously a massively green day. It's actually up 7%. There is a time period here where he could have closed the position. We don't really know. We'll find out as the next 13F filing, but unfortunately, that's not going to be until like February at this point. So it's a long way to wait before you find out about this one.
I
But I
will.
think that's probably the trade that's most interesting from this kind of talk here is the short semis is what Burry did with his most recent bearish trade.
I mean, so you got to think it's fairly split, and if we think a recession is coming, there's less spending during recession. Nvidia is just so gross. Like it's just so high. Even AMD, it corrected. It went back down to like 95, which is it's probably still too expensive. I own it at 92, but now it's already all the way back to like 120. I just, I think he may still be holding this one? Because I really think it's got a decent amount to correct, I guess.
Yeah, I don't know, man. If you own put contracts and it is now up 7% for when you entered that put contract, you probably got your face ripped off by those options. So it
True.
definitely
I
hurts a
would
little bit depending on the
think
time
that
frame.
he sold some for profit. I don't know what he does, but
Yeah, quite possibly. So, I wanted to mention this too. This is our old friend, in case you hadn't looked at a long-term or all-time chart of Alibaba anytime recently. It's quite a shape there, isn't it? It's not something that's very unique. You don't see this a lot of other places in the market.
it's
And
depressing.
he's been in and out of Alibaba multiple times, unlike our boy Charlie Munger, who just built his position and sold off a little bit to trim, and then he's been steady ever since. Um, but Alibaba's got a couple of major kind of news catalysts coming up this week, so maybe it'll work out. The earnings get reported this week. There are estimates out there. Yeah, I'll show you in a second here. Tasty Trade, if you actually do the math here, they're talking about some pretty significant increase in EPS year over year. I think it was like 20 something percent on EPS, and then like 7% in terms of revenue was what the math worked out to. Um, that's just their estimate. So we'll take that with whatever you want for being worth. But yeah, it could be an interesting week as far as the news goes. That's Thursday morning before market open. And I don't know. Do you recognize either of these gentlemen, or not really sure?
Is he in San Francisco now?
Yeah,
Is that
yeah,
happening? Did you
yeah. I mean,
see like they like cleaned it up and they put like bars like the barricades? It's
but
kind
of
of
course.
wild.
Yeah, they even I saw the press conference of Gavin Newsom talking about it, and it was like, yeah, I mean, we cleaned it up obviously for this, but we also cleaned it up because we should clean it up. Yeah, great, thanks for that. Um, but definitely getting a press conference. Look at this, all these news articles. I just took the screenshot from Google like 5 minutes ago, and there are multiple articles coming out in the last like hour about this. Yeah, it's a major event when you have like the two largest economies in the world and they have their leaders getting together. So if anything at all comes out of this that could be positive, and yes, I understand it could be a long term thing, and maybe I'm just a little bit of copium, hence all the bottles of alcohol on my top shelf now. But yeah, that's the idea. Is maybe we'll get a little catalyst out of Alibaba and JD as well. I mean, I own Baba, but yeah, no skin off my back as far as if JD does well. That's the hope, I think. Right now.
So, do you feel risky enough in buying a couple calls on Baba before earnings? It's Thursday, right?
Yeah, it's this week.
All right.
Like short term calls.
I'll
No,
throw five
no.
grand towards it. Sounds good.
Yeah, solid plan. Yep, that's the way to go. But yeah, I don't know. What do you guys think about his, Burry's most recent 13F update, and then it's kind of the possibility of having some Alibaba catalyst finally back on the menu here, if you will.
I mean, so to summarize, I think the most interesting thing for most people is the Soxel short.
Yeah,
But I mean, the Baba, that's I have like 20K in Baba, so obviously I want that to go better. So
yeah,
that sounds
same.
good to me.
And we confirmed he did close his shorts. I think that's probably the most like news headline topic of the whole thing. But he did indeed close them. Maybe he made some money on the triple Q, and probably made some money on the spy one.
So all time high is next. All right, guys, have a good one.
It's